Syracuse football gets crushed for the third straight time. We'll go over that game against Boston College. Syracuse football wrap-up. Syracuse basketball starts 5-0 with a win over Toledo, and we look ahead to Maryland.
Make some noise, Orange fans! It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Welcome to episode 40 of the Cuse Nation podcast. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, and YouTube. Once again, welcome. I am Sean alongside my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, Sean. How you doing?
I'm all right. So, I guess the football season's over. That's the good news. It was awfully hard to watch the last three games. I mean, with the defense was just horrendous. When you read and you talk about we've talked about before the way they finish the season, and we've talked about before what comes first, the wins or the fans in the seats. I mean, you're in a huge dilemma right here, and Dino Babers finishing up his second season again, 4-8. So, they're gonna have to win to fill the seats. The expectations of the fans is, the patience is running out. And in Dino Babers, defense, it's only his second year. He's still kind of rebuilding. You got a lot of really good seniors leaving, but you got Dungy coming back. So,
yeah.
But the thing about it is that the past three games, the defense has allowed, 734 yards against Wake Forest, 727 against Louisville, and 581 against Boston College. It's 2,042 yards in three games.
Yeah.
An average of 681 yards a game. I mean, That is brutal.
Ironically, those are the three games that Eric Dungy was hurt. So,
yeah, and
again, it's just one of those things. I think that it's not a fluke. When you're practicing with a team, you know who's good. You know who can lead you to a victory and who isn't really ready or who just doesn't have the skills. And I think it was pretty evident that as much as Dino Babers is a great motivational speaker, and as much as they've suited up to play and they've showed up and played physical and tried, in the back of their heads they know that without Eric Dungy, they're not going to be able to win. And that happened last year too. So that's kind of a common theme so far, and hopefully Babers can break that with the new guys coming in. So,
well, I did a little thing on CuseNationShow.com, and the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is that Eric Dungy's coming back. The bad is, the second straight season finishing 4-8. Like you've said, he's given, we've had two big wins last year against number 17 at the time, Virginia Tech. This year, of course, against number 2, Clemson. Two huge wins, two historic speeches in the end, viral speeches from Coach Babers. Is merely almost just a blip on the radar for the season, though. Not having Dungy. When we talked last episode 39, about how Babers didn't think that affected the team, I think it's after Boston College. I respect his answer, and we talked about that. But obviously, like you said, I concur. Without Dungy, it's a different team. Both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and the way that Babers likes to keep it close to his chest, so the things that are spoken in the locker room and the things that are seen behind closed doors, that's stuff that no one's going to see. The media is not going to see it. He's not going to talk about it, and the fans can only speculate. So, realistically, to me, to the fans and other people, not having to go to a bowl game and the wins and all that, that's one thing. But when the recruits come in and they see what's happening with how Babers quotes it, the La Familia, and what's going on with the team behind closed doors and how they're changing the environment of the team, that's only things that recruits can see and the team can see and the coaches can see. And I feel like that is really the strongest thing, in my opinion. So the fans can think what they want. And again, I mean, I looked at an attendance thing, and I think we averaged like 33,000 as far as attendance this year, and it was the fourth lowest in history, even though it was an upgrade to his last year. So I think the only 3 seasons was his last year, Scott Schaefer's last year, and Greg Robinson's last year. So it's fourth worst attendance, but there's no doubt in my mind, dude. It's way more fun to watch. The offense, they're breaking records. They're playing with people. They just got to get that depth so that when somebody like Dungy goes down, I mean, he doesn't have another excuse to not have a backup. That's like Mahoney. Like, we need to have a better backup, and he doesn't have any more excuses. Next year is going to be his 3rd year, and if Dungy goes down like he has the last 2, which should be expected at this point, we got to have something better.
Is it fair to say if we end up in another situation next year where we end up, somewhere around 4-8 or even 5-7, that you got to start looking at the coaching after 3 years?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think truly I do believe that there is going to be a turnaround. There's no way, in my opinion, as far as wins and losses wise, especially looking at the schedule, that we're not going to be better than 4-8 next year. So, I mean, you can quote me with that right now. Barring injuries, I just don't. I mean, DeVito's going to have another year. Mahoney's going to be gone. Culpepper showed a little bit of promise. He's going to have another year. So, as long as we have receivers and linebackers step up, I mean, we have depth. We're young. We're even getting a good recruiting class coming in, and we have an easier schedule. So if he does go 4-8, then yes, I do see where you're coming from. But I believe in giving coaches time and at least giving them 4 years. And Schaefer really didn't get that. Greg Robinson did. It takes time. But I truly believe that we're not going to have a 4-8 year next year, but that's just my opinion. So,
well, let's see. You're talking about it takes time, and I agree. You had Baylor; they took 4 years to turn into a 10-win program. There was South Florida; they took 4 years to turn into a 10-win. I mean, there's a couple more. Michigan State took 4 years to turn into a 10-win program. Duke took 6. I mean, they were just pitiful. It took them 6 years to turn. I mean, minus this year, they were at least competitive last year.
Right.
Took 6 years to turn that program around.
Right.
So you're right. It does take time. I personally like Babers, but the knee jerk reaction is to call for his head. And
of course,
you know what I mean. And
well, I mean, dude, you have Syracuse fans that call for Boeheim's head. So come on, I mean, that's just it's what the fans in Syracuse do. I mean, if you're not winning now, then we got to get rid of the coach, and that's just not how it works.
No,
so
you're right. You were talking about, just for the hell of it, they did release the 12 opponents for next year. This is no particular order, but we know what's home and what's away. The home games would be Wagner, Connecticut, North Carolina, NC State, Florida State, and Louisville. They're all the home games. Those are some good home games.
Yeah.
Away games: Western Michigan, Notre Dame, Clemson, Pittsburgh, Boston College, Wake Forest. That's a brutal away schedule too, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So those are the games for next year. Got to imagine, obviously, Wagner, Connecticut, Western Michigan. We know those are going to be first.
Yeah.
So everything else, but nothing else is in order, is my point. So, right. Like you mentioned, a lot of what do we got coming in for wide receivers? We're losing, we're losing 2 record holders at Syracuse University at the wide receiver spot. And, Dungy's going to be having to learn, some new personality. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot of the good thing is there's going to be competition everywhere because, like you said, there's a lot of balls to go around. I mean, you have record-breaking receivers that are going to be gone. You have Custis. Custis is going to be a senior. Devin Butler, he struggles with drops, number 5, but he's going to be back for his junior year. The little returner there, Sean Riley, he's going to be back. Nykeem Johnson is another freshman that played this year, number 82. He didn't play that much, but he got in there. he's got some talent as well. But when we redshirted 3 receivers, I think we're bringing in 4 receivers with one Hendricks is the last name, and he's going to be a guy that could possibly come in and play. So we definitely have. I mean, we have 7 receivers between coming in recruiting class and redshirting that are going to be coming in and competing with the other 3 or 4 that have played this year. So it's definitely going to be competition. And is there a possibility that, I mean, there's not going to be another Steve Ishmael. You know what I mean? They're going to have to work together, and they're going to have to be more balanced all around. But there's definitely going to be openings all over the place, and there's going to be competition, and it's basically a bunch of positions ripe for the taking. So it's going to be interesting in the offseason as far as receivers go, without a doubt.
And we got crushed, but you wouldn't know it looking at Culpepper's numbers on paper. Not that bad. 24-34, only 1 interception, 70% completions, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 1 sack with a QB rating of 153.3. So
yeah,
not that
Ishmael
bad.
had a good day. So I'm glad to see that Ishmael actually broke Marvin Harrison's record, broke Amba Adetawa's record. So he actually has the record for the most catches in a season for Syracuse, and he also has the record for the most receiving yards for a career for Syracuse. So
right. Yep. Yeah, amazing. He had an amazing career there, and he's got to be going pro. There's no doubt about that.
Well, yeah, I think he's definitely got a better chance than Amba Adetawa. I mean, he was more of a big play kind of guy. Steve Ishmael, you could see he's a possession receiver. He has no problem going across the middle. He has strong hands. I mean, he rarely dropped things. So
focused.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on basketball? We can leave this behind us for
football.
For football, and we can leave this behind us, and we'll pick it back up in the offseason.
Well, I mean, we obviously is disappointment after Clemson, but Clemson, that happened.
5 straight losses, though, Joe. 5 straight losses, 2 of those with Dungy.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. But at the end of the day, if you look at our schedule and you look how we competed, especially earlier in the year, that type of schedule is a gauntlet, and players get hurt, and we don't have the depth like that. Like Dino Babers says all the time, when you come in, there's a lot of players that transfer. There's a lot of players that are there that just don't fit your scheme, and this is a vastly, vastly different scheme on offense and on defense. So that's why this kind of transition takes time, because if you have a similar scheme, similar system, then you can work with the players a little bit. But he kind of had to come in and work with what he had, and then recruit for a system from there. So as we're going to go along, especially next year and then even the year after that, you're going to see more and more younger players playing, just as you have this year and last year, because that's just kind of how it goes. So, I mean, I'm optimistic. I'm going to be patient with Babers. Absolutely. I like him.
I like Babers too. I'd be patient with Babers too.
And I guarantee you that there's going to be teams come calling, whether we hear it or not. And he's gonna have options to get possibly other jobs, and that's the whole thing that's crazy about this Syracuse fans when I call for Babers' head or when I call for like coordinators' heads and stuff. But meanwhile, they're gonna get calls to get better jobs for more money. So that just tells you kind of how Syracuse fans are. Is they just really they want to see the wins, and they don't see that. I mean, there is a kind of silver lining with losing when you play that type of schedule and you play that hard. So that's kind of what I see, and some people just care about wins and losses. So I see improvement, and I see Babers is on the right track, and I hope that he stays and we can, hopefully see what he has to do. But as far as Boston College goes, that running back A.J. Dillon is a beast, and
no doubt, he's a freshman right out of high school.
Boston College is going to be a problem next year. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, despite losing battle in the last game against Toledo, Syracuse basketball pulls out a win with O'Shaper's stepping up, and also Howard with another game high, or career high, for a game. I think he had 25. So,
yeah.
I was really impressed with that. That's one thing that we definitely missed last year, is when, if someone was going out, there was no one that stepped up. I mean, Howard, he wasn't stepping up for nothing. He was just awful. He's almost a completely different player this year as far as I can see. And Syracuse edging out Toledo 72-64. It doesn't look like it was actually more of, they got spun more than that, but more than 8 points. But they came close and we'd pull away. There was a lot of ticky-tack fouls that game. It was funny because I just mentioned the last podcast how I thought the refs were letting them play a little bit.
Yeah.
And then this game was like ticky-tack left and right. I mean, we had both of our centers fouled out and they had to put Dolerzai in there. And and I told you, not a bad third option for center. Really, I mean that's pretty deep at center.
I mean it's not optimal, but
no, it's not. But it's not terrible.
There was at least three fouls there that I was like, just really bad. Especially there's two on Chukwa that were just like you said, just ticky tack. Just it was unfortunate, but with him going out, that was a dangerous fall. When I saw that, I was like, oh god, here we go.
I know, and then he came back. He came right. He never even sat out. He came right back in. And
he went out and tested it, and you could tell. But at least you knew when he came out and tested it that it wasn't anything as far as like spinal, as far as like any type of bone or anything like that. You knew it was muscle,
Right.
So.
Yeah, he took a jumper and grimaced hard.
Oh, so. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what you do. When you fall like that, you tighten up, and if you have like a violent fall like that, then I'm sure he has lower back spasms is basically probably what's going on with him.
He did practice, though.
He did practice,
he
but
was limited.
He was limited. I'm hearing that, so.
What do you think for tomorrow night?
I don't know. I'd like to see him. It's hard to think that if he was going to play or if he wasn't going to play that any Syracuse fan would think we had a chance. So obviously you have to watch the game with optimism, but you have to do what's best for him in the future of the team. You know what I mean?
It's labeled as a lower back bruise, by the way, officially.
Yeah, lower back bruise. Yeah. So I mean, it's just going to be a painful thing that he's got to work through and just let heal. And if it means sitting him out so he can be healthy for Kansas, or sitting him out so he can be healthy for UConn even after Kansas, then so be it.
Yeah. So I mean, in your opinion, were you impressed with the way that Howard actually kind of took control of it? In not for anything, Brissett too. So he scored 17 points. I mean,
well, you know what? I mean, that's kind of what we kind of needed. I mean, I read today at Syracuse.com that, I mean, you look at the teams that we've played, and there's like three teams that Texas Southern, Iona, and I think Oakland, they were all picked to be atop of their conference. So we've played against decent squads that have given us a little bit of trouble in the beginning of the year, or the beginning of the half of the game. And we've came back and we've overcome it with defense and just figuring stuff out. But it's just tough because this watching that, it definitely it helped give me confidence in that people need to step up. So Tyus Battle in there, they always have that crutch where if they think that something's going down or they're losing confidence, they can get it to him. He can get a couple of baskets, and for him to be able to go down and team to be able to step up and actually finish out a game against a decent Toledo team, then it was pretty impressive for me, especially with the foul outs, with the fouls in center. It's just
it looked ugly for a little while, and it was actually it actually didn't turn out to be half bad, to be honest with you. I mean,
well, but you have to put that pressure and you have to put that kind of responsibility on other players sometimes, so you kind of need those kind of games. We didn't lose, and players stepped up and probably gained a little bit of confidence with that. So it's really can only be a positive. It's just you only hope that Tyus Battle isn't out for that many games, because who knows how long that's going to last as far as like a full game,
Yeah, I know. And, no one knows how bad it is. All that stuff's kept so hush, which I totally agree with. I'm fine with that.
Well, if it was that bad, he wouldn't have practiced. But
right. That's a good point. That Toledo team, though, a good shooting team. And we were worried about that. We were worried about that with what's his name there,
Sanford.
No, Napke. Sanford
Napke
too. But Napke, Sanford, he averaged 23 points a game. He was held to 11. So
we held him in check pretty good. So
not bad. They came out on fire with the threes, and whatever adjustments they made at the half, they stifled them after the half. They weren't that hot from behind the arc after that, and then that allowed us to kind of control it from there, I think. But yeah, all right, Joe. Well, let me know. We have Maryland coming up Monday night. What time is that game? Do you know by any chance? I didn't check. I mean, it's probably a 7 o'clocker, but we'll check. Maryland coming up.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. ESPN 2 at 7 o'clock.
Okay, ESPN 2.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Or ESPN 2 or the app if you don't have ESPN 2. I imagine if you have ESPN, you have ESPN 2, though, right? On cable?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us what we need to know about Maryland, Joe.
Maryland is, I believe they're 5-1, 6-1, I believe. Yep, 6-1. Only lost to St. Bonaventure. My boy Ken Palm, in his analytic
KP.
ratings, he has Maryland 37th and Syracuse 54th. That's probably just based on preseason and the fact they haven't lost that much. But Maryland's only loss is to, like I said again, St. Bonaventure. Decent team. Played in the Emerald Coast Classic this past weekend. So that's one thing to look forward to, even if we don't have battle, is that this is going to be their third game in 4 days. So they had a game on Friday and a game on Saturday. So maybe them being tired might have something, could help us.
So we did our run every other 3 games, 6 days, and they went on their run.
Yeah. So, but just a little couple storylines. This is the 8th all-time meeting, and the Terps actually lead the series 5-3, and they got a couple guys that are pretty good. They lost a lot of guys last year, so this team is tough to kind of try to figure out because they were a tournament team, but they definitely have height. They got a senior. I can't think of his name right now, but he's 7'1". Another guy, Bruno Fernando, is a freshman forward who's 6'10".
Damn.
And and they got their leading rebounder who's averaging 9 points, 9 rebounds, Justin Jackson. He's at 6'7". So you're looking at their center, their 2 forwards right there. And they also have Anthony Cowan Jr., who's averaging 15 points a game and is led the team in scoring 6 out of 7 games. So I have not personally watched them play this year, and I know that St. Bonaventure is a decent team. Right now, Vegas has got the line at Syracuse as a 2-point favorite. So it's kind of a throw-up game. I don't think anybody knows, but I bet you that line switches if Tyus Battle gets ruled out tomorrow. So
yeah, and it is in the Dome, too.
It's at the Dome, so it's at a home game. And again, like we said, this is going to be the third game in 4 days. So hopefully it works out for us in the end. But they do have height, and it's a Big Ten team that has obviously been good in the past. So I would expect a close game. Because again, Maryland they have a lot of underclassmen that are running their team, so they had a lot of seniors leave and people leave for the draft. So that's kind of all I got. I mean, it's going to be a very competitive game.
Yeah, it is, and we've got the next 3 games at home against Maryland, and then we've got Kansas, and then we go to UConn. So those next 3 games are going to be, they're going to show us either what we need to improve on, which my guess would probably be scoring. I think, I guess we'll just have to find out. It's hard to tell when you play these mid-major teams to really see what you've got. We've held our own pretty good, and I think it's a decent team. It's better than last year so far to me, I believe. But we'll really get to know, even tomorrow night against Maryland. And then you're looking at Kansas. Kansas is ranked top 10.
Yeah. This is kind of what it is. It's kind of a barometer of where you are as a team at this point. You have 13 non-conference games, and usually Syracuse ends up. In the old days when we were good, we were making the tournament like every single year. we were getting 1-2 losses in the non-conference, being ranked, being 11-2, 12-1, going into the ACC play or Big East play back then. Last couple of years, it hasn't gone that way, and we've lost some games. You can argue that the St. John's games alone, the past couple of years have, hindered us from going to the tournament. So that's really what it comes down to right now is it's a barometer. We've played some decent teams, some teams that are going to be good in their conference, but at the end of the day, they're 14, 15, 16 seeds in the NCAA tournament. So we got to kind of see what we do when we play against Power 5 teams that have the same height and athleticism that we have. And that's kind of where we're going right now. So like you said, Maryland, Kansas, UConn, then I think we got a home game against Colgate, and then we have a game against Georgetown. Yeah. So those are like 4 of the next 5 games, and we have a couple other games down the road that aren't going to be easy. St. Bonaventure, like I said before, beat Maryland, and we got to play them later in the schedule. So there's it's definitely going to be a challenge, and like you said, it's going to basically tell us where we're at right now. It's going to kind of, okay, you guys are beating up on these teams. Well, what's going to happen when you get guys your size, your height? What are you going to do? And that's kind of what we're going to look at.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
As much as we want wins, it's tough because in our instance right now, we know what Tyus Battle can do, but at the same time, we don't really know what everyone else can do consistently and are on a consistent basis. And yes, people stepped up last game, and for 10 minutes, for a quarter of a game, they stepped up and we had an 11-point lead, I believe, when he went out. So, they stepped up and they held the lead for a quarter of the game. Well, what are they going to do when Tyus Battle's out for the whole game? That's kind of what I'm looking at as far as tomorrow goes. Is Tyus Battle going to play? And if not, then it gives us a great opportunity for players to gain confidence and step up and see what people got when, the person that you rely on the most on the team is gone. So it could be a great learning experience as far as Jim Boeheim and the coaches to help with the rotation, but also for players to step up and gain confidence and see who's going to be the second, third, fourth scorer, who's going to take those minutes when crunch time and when you're playing against a good team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
step up. I mean, Coach played 8 guys. All of them, besides they all played pretty decent. They all did their part to, get things done, and it was impressive. Battle, obviously the star of the team, even being out almost the entire second half, still averages like 20 points a game.
Yeah.
So
well, you know what though, they have to get used to that too, because when they play in conference and they play against teams that can match up with them, like they know who they're going to have to stop.
No, you're right. Exactly. You're right.
You know what I mean? So our team's going to have to learn how to get by if someone, another team puts their best defender on Tyus Battle and he gets locked down, or they're double teaming him, or they're helping on him. Like they're going to have to figure it out. It can't just be Battle.
No,
so
you're right. Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those things where it could help, but at the end of the day, you still don't want to lose. So that was like the one thing that I was worried about with Toledo when he went out, was like, oh, there's still a lot of time. And if these guys just start farting around and they don't know what to do because Battle's not out there, then we could end up losing this. I didn't want it to be, at least Toledo, I didn't want it to be a learning experience with them losing. At least it was a learning experience and they won. With Maryland, I don't think, and especially Kansas, I don't think it's going to be that bad if we actually don't have Tyus Battle. And it's a learning experience, but we end up losing because at the end of the day, the committee at the end of the year is going to know that because they do put injuries into account. So we lose to Maryland, we lose to Kansas, we end up winning the rest of our non-conference, we get closer, we're on the bubble when it comes tournament time. They can look back and they can see, okay, well, this is when Tyus Battle was, So I'm okay with those teams, but I'm just glad that we got rid of Toledo when Tyus Battle got hurt. So,
yeah, that's true. I wasn't really that worried about it, but you're right. It could have been a disaster for everybody.
No, I mean they went in a couple. They went in a couple onslaughts where they were hitting threes left and right, and that's all they needed was that little run, and it could have changed everything. But Frank Howard stepped up, like you said. Brissett stepped up. Dozier was all over the place. Matthew Moyer had some good plays.
Yeah, that's right. He did. That's right.
And obviously, and our centers were obviously active because they fouled out. So
yeah, Yeah, like, well, ticky-tack, but nonetheless, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously we're still going to look for, the growths and the learning curve with the graduate seniors and Geno Thorpe. So hopefully, that ends up working out as well. So at the end of the day, we knew, already, listen to us. We're 5-0. We're Syracuse fans, and we're already just throwing up expectations. What were our expectations 5 games ago? We had no idea what the hell we were going to look at. Yeah. Now all of a sudden we're 5-0, and so that's how crazy. And there's fans way worse than us.
Yeah,
there's fans. Yeah, exactly. But what happens if Tyus Battle doesn't play and we lose? There's going to be some negative stuff. Our team's trash. SU fans
not going to make the tournament. All of that stuff. Jim Boeheim needs to go. He sucks. The 2-3 zone sucks.
Yeah.
Everybody's figured it out, which is malarkey. Right. It's total malarkey. Yeah, you're going to hear it at some point this year, though. You're going to hear that crap.
No, it's all about the 2-3 zone is all about if you have size as far as length and your effort, then it's all about the 2-3 zone with Jim Boeheim. It's all about what the players make it. Nobody figures it out. It just depends on how hard the players are going to make it.
It depends on how good they make it. It's only as good as they can play.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all it is. It's all about how good they make it. And if they don't make it, like last year, they didn't make it look that good. Therefore, it changed everything.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's just how it goes. And it's going to be interesting, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow night for the first temperature game to see where the hell we are.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that game will be at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and then they don't play again till December 2nd on Saturday, which will be a nice little break. Again, coming off of 3 games in 6 days, and then playing a tough one against Maryland.
And that's what I said about Ty's battle. If he's that close, and if it's on the fence, if he let him sit so we can play for Kansas.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. All right, Joe. Great episode. Episode 40. We turned 40 episodes old today. And by the way, hey, go to Facebook, thumb us up. I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the episode. I'm going to next time, just in case, so it's at the beginning so everybody hears it.
Yeah, right.
That over 1,000 likes on the Facebook page. Huge thanks to everybody. It's awesome. So go to Facebook, facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast. Give us a thumb up there. And I think that was it. I
hope that's it, because I got nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, for Joe, I'm Sean. We're out. We'll see you next time. Later.
Peace.
You just heard the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe.